The first time I heard a knock that hard, my body reacted before my mind did. Not fear, not recognition, not the kind of knock that doesn't belong to it. Neighbor. It wasn't a tap. It wasn't polite. It wasn't casual. It was authority. I looked through the peephole and saw two uniforms in the hallway. My stomach went tight for half a second. Not because I was guilty of anything, but because I knew exactly what this was. A wellness check. The newest trend in concern as a weapon. My sister couldn't control the family narrative anymore. She couldn't control my job. She couldn't force a public scene. So she tried something she thought would guarantee a reaction. She tried to bring the system to my door. I opened it calmly. Not wide. Not defensive. Just enough. One officer spoke first. Professional and measured. Hi, we received a call about a concern for your well-being. There it was again. Concern. Always concern. I nodded once. Okay, the officer continued. Someone said you may be at risk. That you've been unstable. Unstable. The same word now attached to a uniform, a report, a file. I could feel the trap inside it. If I got angry, I'd look unstable. If I got emotional, I'd look unstable. If I argued, I'd look unstable. That's how this tactic works. It forces you to perform calm under pressure and then punishes you if you react like a human. So I stayed quiet for a beat long. Enough to keep control of my own breath. Then I spoke. Calmly. I'm fine, I said. Who called it in? The officer hesitated slightly. We can't disclose that. He said. Of course. The person who creates the chaos gets protection. The person being targeted has to absorb it. I didn't fight that. I asked the only question that matters when someone tries to turn rumors into authority. Did they report any specific threat or behavior? The officer glanced at his partner, then back at me. No, he said. Just general concern. General concern. Translation. Story, not evidence. I nodded again. Would you like to see me? I asked, or would you like to speak inside? The officer looked past me into my apartment. Clean, calm, quiet. No broken furniture. No chaos. No signs of anything dramatic. He shook his head. We just need to confirm you're okay. I said, I am. Then I added, carefully, not as an accusation. But as context, this is not the first time a family member has tried to weaponize concern against me. The officers. Expression changed slightly. Not. Sympathy. Understanding. Because they've seen this. Before. People use wellness checks the way they use anonymous emails. To plant doubt and force a system to react. The officer asked, do you have anyone you can call? A friend? Someone who can check in on you? I didn't get offended. I didn't take it personally. I understood the procedure. Yes, I said. But I don't need anyone. I'm safe. He nodded, then said, we're going to note that we made contact and you're... Okay. Good, documentation works both ways. Then he asked the question that told me he was paying attention. Is there any reason someone would want to send us here? That question was so clean it almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was the first time an authority figure had asked a question my family never asked. Intent. Not emotion. Not how do they feel? Why would someone do this? I kept my answer short. There's an ongoing family conflict, I said. And I've been setting boundaries. The officer nodded slowly like he'd heard that exact sentence 100 times. Then he said something quiet, almost like advice. Keep records. Records. That word landed like a key. Because in the world my sister lives in, stories are power. But in the real world, especially the world with uniforms and policies, records are power. I nodded once. I am. The officer gave me a final look, professional, neutral. All right, he said. Take care. And then they left, just like that. No drama. No escalation. No scene. But I stood there for a moment after the door closed, listening to the hallway go quiet. Again. Because I knew what this meant. This wasn't a one-time mistake. This was escalation. She wasn't trying to check on me. She was trying to brand me. To create a trail that could be used later. History. An implication that follows you like smoke. And the worst part, she would tell people she did it out of love, that she was scared, that she had no choice. Because that's how they always justify control. They call it care. I walked back inside, sat down, and opened the folder on my phone where I kept everything, screenshots, emails, dates, times. I added one more entry. Wellness check, date, time, officers arrived, no evidence provided, contact made. Safe. Then I paused. Because for the first time, I realized something deeper. If she was willing to bring police to my door, she was willing to go further, not just to control the story. To punish the boundary. And in that moment, my phone buzzed, a message from an unknown number. One sentence. You forced me to do this. I stared at it, and I felt the quiet certainty settle in. She wanted me to feel guilty. She wanted me to feel responsible for the chaos she created, but I didn't because I knew the truth. I didn't force her to do anything. I just stopped letting her do it. Privately. And now she was proving out loud exactly what she was. I didn't reply. I screenshot it, I saved it, and I started thinking about the next step. Not revenge. Protection. Because when someone escalates to authority, you don't win with emotion, you win with structure, and I was about to build it. I didn't sleep much that night. Not because I was afraid of the police coming back, because I understood what the wellness check really was. It wasn't a mistake. It was a test run. A way to see if they could force panic into my body with a single phone call. A way to see if they could make me look unstable without proving anything. And the message from the unknown number, you forced me to do this, confirmed it. That wasn't concern. That was punishment wrapped in martyrdom. The next morning, I didn't wake up with the urge to explain. I woke up with a plan. Not revenge. Structure. I sat at my table, opened my laptop, and created a document titled. Then I wrote the first line like I was writing for someone who didn't know me, didn't care about my feelings, and only needed facts. Date, time, what happened, who was involved, what was said. No drama. No adjectives. No she's crazy. Just reality. Wellness check, officers arrived, caller unknown, no specific threat alleged, contact made, safe and stable. Officers left. Then I added the screenshots. The unknown number, the HR didn't work message, the workplace email, the watch what happens next. And I realized something as I watched the folder. Philip. This wasn't just documentation. It was a mirror, and people like my sister hate mirrors. Because mirrors don't argue, they don't defend, they don't beg, they just show. Around midday, my phone rang again. My mother. I let it ring. Then she texted, can you call me? This is serious. Serious. Like my life had become a public emergency because my sister said so. I didn't call. I replied with one sentence, I'm safe. Please don't send authorities to my home again. A few seconds passed. Then she wrote back, we didn't send anyone. We were worried. We. That word always appeared when they wanted collective innocence. As if responsibility dissolves when it's shared. I kept it clean. Someone did. I replied. And it was based on false claims. My mother didn't answer. Instead, my father called. That was new. My father didn't call unless he believed he could still regain control. I didn't pick up. He texted one word. Meet. Double quotes. Meet. Not. Can we talk? Not. Are you okay? Meet like an order. I stared at it and felt an old impulse try to wake up inside me. The impulse to comply just to avoid escalation. But compliance is exactly what this tactic is. Designed to extract. So I replied with boundaries that looked boring. I'm not meeting. If you need to communicate, text. A minute later, my sister texted from a different number, different area code, different account. Same tone. You embarrassed me. I almost smiled because she wasn't even pretending anymore. The wellness check wasn't about me being okay. It was about her losing control and trying to regain it with maximum disruption. Then, another message came. Longer. You always do this. You isolate, you make everyone worry, then you act like a victim when people try to help. If something happened, it would be on us. There it was. The guilt trap. If I set boundaries, I'm isolating. If I refuse access, I'm making them worry. If they escalate to authority, it's my fault. And if anything ever happens in the future, They want pre-made innocence. We tried. I didn't answer that message either. Instead, I did something quiet and decisive. I wrote a single, no context statement, not emotional, not personal, just clear. A statement I could send once and never repeat, because repeating boundaries is what keeps you trapped in the conversation. So I opened my notes app and typed, "I'm safe. Do not contact my workplace, my friends, or my home again. Do not call police or request wellness checks. Any further attempts to involve third parties will be documented and handled formally. If you need to communicate, do it through one written message only." Then I waited. I didn't send it right away, because I knew if I sent it when I was irritated, they'd call it emotional, they'd call it aggressive. They'd focus on tone. So I sent it when I felt calm. 2 minutes later. The replies came almost instantly. My sister, "So you're threatening us now?" My mother, "This is insane." My father, "You're overreacting." Overreacting. That word is how they try to turn your boundaries into instability. If you set a boundary, you're dramatic. If you enforce it, you're cruel. If you document, you're paranoid. The language is designed to make you doubt yourself and return to normal. I didn't respond because I wasn't trying to convince them. I was creating a record that would hold up outside the family. Then my sister sent the most revealing message of all. "You can't stop me from caring." Caring. There. It was again Kara's control. I didn't reply. I took a screenshot. Then I did something that felt like crossing a line I should have crossed years ago. I called the non-emergency line, not to report an emergency, not to accuse, just to ask the simplest possible question. What do I do if someone keeps requesting wellness checks with no evidence? The person on the line didn't sound surprised. They gave me options in a calm, procedural voice. Keep records. Document. If it continues, you can ask about harassment. You can request a note on file. Note on file. That phrase mattered, because it meant the next time someone called in general concern, it wouldn't land in a vacuum. It would land in context. When I hung up, I didn't feel empowered in a dramatic way. I felt steady, like I was building a fence one plank at a time. And that afternoon, another message came from my sister. Different tone now, softer. "You know I'm the only one trying to help you. Everyone's worried. Just come talk." Come talk. The oldest trap. If I talk, she records, or twisted. If I don't talk, she escalates again. But I wasn't in a trap anymore, because I had replaced emotion with structure. So I replied, once short and final. "No. Just one word. No explanation. No debate. No apology. Then she sent something that was almost funny in how transparent it was. "Fine, if you won't speak, I'll make sure someone who matters hears the truth." Someone who matters. She had already tried HR. She had already tried police. Now she was threatening the next circle. Friends, neighbors, community. The people who still saw me as normal. The people she hadn't contaminated yet. I stared at the message and felt my mind shift into clarity. This wasn't just a family conflict anymore. This was a campaign, and campaigns have patterns. And patterns can be proven. I added the message to the incident log. Then I wrote one more line beneath it. Next likely move. Contact friends, public concern. Post, show up with witnesses. I didn't know which one she'd choose, but I knew she'd choose something that created an audience, because people like her don't just want control. They want witnesses. They want a room to perform in. And the dangerous part wasn't that she would lie. The dangerous part was that she would lie calmly. In a voice that sounded reasonable. In a story that sounded like care. And that's when I realized the next step I had to take. Not to fight her story. To preempt the audience. Quietly. Before she arrived with her version. She didn't post anything that night. No vague captions. No quotes about family. No soft threats disguised as prayer hands and sad emojis. That's how I knew she was planning something bigger. Because when people like her go quiet, it's not peace. It's staging. The next afternoon, I was coming back from the store when I saw two people standing near my building entrance. My sister and someone else. Woman I recognized from childhood, one of my mother's closest friends. The kind of person who calls herself aunt, even though she isn't. Related. A witness. My sister didn't come alone. She came with someone who could validate her tone, someone who could stand there later and say, I was there. I saw how he acted. They were positioned perfectly right in the open, where neighbors pass, where someone might see and assume the scene belonged to them. My sister spotted me first and smiled like she'd been waiting. Not warmly, triumphantly, double quotes. Hey, she said. Loud enough for the friend beside her to hear. We just wanted to talk. I stopped a few steps away, not close enough to be pulled into a circle, not far enough to look like I was running. Calm distance. The friend stepped forward with her hands open. Gentle. Sweetheart, she said softly, like I was 10 years old. We're worried about you. Worried. Again. Always the same word. Like a key they keep trying on the lock. I looked at my sister. She held her phone down by her side, screen facing inward. Like it wasn't obvious. Like I wasn't supposed to notice, but I noticed everything. Now, because you don't bring concern to someone's doorstep with an audience unless you want a performance. My sister spoke. Again, you've been pushing everyone away, she said. And then you act shocked when people try to help. You made us call. You forced us. Her eyes flicked toward the friend. Checking for agreement. The friend nodded slightly, as if the story had already been told on the drive over. This was the plan. Surround me with softness until I either submit or snap. If I submit, they win control. If I snap, they win proof. I didn't give them either. I kept my voice low and even, I'm safe, I said. And I'm not having this conversation here. My sister's smile tightened. The friend tried to step in, still gentle, still patronizing. But we're family, she said. We don't do this. We don't shut people out. I nodded once. We also don't send police to someone's door, I said. The friend blinked like she hadn't expected directness. My sister's eyes sharpened. See? My sister said quickly, turning toward the friend. This is what I mean. He twists everything. He makes it sound like we're attacking him. She didn't look at me when she said it. She looked at her witness, because that's who the performance was for. I stayed calm. Then I said something simple, something that refused the stage. If you're worried, I said, you can stop escalating. My sister laughed, sharp and controlled. Escalating? She repeated. You're the one making everyone terrified. Terrified. Another extreme. Another word designed to make me sound dangerous without saying anything provable. The friend's face turned more serious now, like she was about to deliver the moral lecture she'd been assigned. You know, she said, your mother is devastated. Your father can't sleep. People are praying for you. Praying. Of course, spiritual language is a beautiful tool for emotional control because it makes resistance look evil. I didn't argue. I didn't insult her. Beliefs. I simply named reality. I'm not an emergency, I said. I'm a boundary. My sister's voice tightened. You think you're so smart, she said. You think your little boundary excuses you from being accountable? Accountable. The funniest word in her mouth, because her version of accountability was always the same. I apologize for reacting to what she did. I fix how she looks. I restore comfort. I return to normal. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I looked at the friend, calm, direct. I'm going to ask you to leave, I said. The friend looked shocked, like I'd broken an unspoken rule. My sister's eyes widened slightly, then narrowed. You can't tell her to leave, she snapped. This is my family too. I nodded. You're right, I said. And you can't bring witnesses to my door and call it concern. Silence, for a moment. Even the friend didn't know what to say, because what I said was true, and truth is awkward when the script depends on emotion. My sister shifted tactics. Her tone softened suddenly, like she was trying to sound reasonable for the camera she might be recording with. Okay, she said. If you won't talk to us, then just tell us one thing. Here it came. The one thing that's never one thing. The line that opens the door to a new argument. Are you going to hurt yourself? She asked. The question was calculated. If I answered emotionally, she'd label it unstable. If I answered calmly, she'd tell people I sounded cold if I got offended. She'd tell people I was defensive. She wanted a soundbite, a reason. I kept my voice steady. No, I said. Then I added, calmly, clearly, and this question is inappropriate. My sister's mouth tightened, but the friend stepped in quickly. Trying to regain moral high ground. We're just trying to keep you safe. She said. I nodded once. Then stop doing things that create danger, I said. Stop involving third parties. Stop coming to my home. Stop contacting my workplace. Stop calling authorities. My sister's expression flickered, anger trying to break through the mask. You're threatening us again, she said. I shook my head slightly. No, I said. I'm informing you. Then I did the thing that changed everything. I took my phone out and opened the camera, not to record them dramatically. Not to wave it in their faces, just to have. A quiet signal. My sister froze for half a second, because she understood what I was doing. I wasn't escalating. Emotionally, I was documenting. And documentation is the enemy of performance. The friend immediately backed up a step. Why are you filming? She asked. I kept my voice calm. Because you came here with a witness, I said. And I want accuracy. My sister's voice rose slightly. So now you're going to act like we're criminals? I didn't respond to the label. I responded to the boundary. I'm asking you to leave, I said again. If you don't, I'll call building security. My sister stared at me like she couldn't believe I'd say it out, loud in front of her witness, because that's the moment the witness starts questioning the story. If this is just concern, why does it require pressure? If this is just help, why won't they leave? The friend turned to my sister, uncertain now. Maybe we should go, she murmured. My sister's jaw tightened. Her eyes darted around at me. At the friend, at the entrance, at the small world of people who might see and then, for the first time, she lost control in a way she couldn't hide. Fine, she snapped. Be alone. That's what you want. There it was, the curse. The punishment. The final attempt to make my boundary feel like exile. I didn't flinch. I didn't plead. I didn't defend. I said the quiet truth that ends these scenes. This is what I need, I said. My sister scoffed and turned away. The friend looked at me one last time, confused, disappointed, unsure where the villain was supposed to be. Then they walked off. Not with victory, with discomfort. And that was the difference, because the script only works when everyone agrees to play their role. I waited until they were out of sight. Then I opened my incident log and wrote, date, time, sister arrived with witness. Attempted confrontation at residence. Mentioned self-harm to provoke. Asked them to leave. They left. Then I did the final step, not dramatic, not vengeful, formal. I emailed HR and wrote one sentence, FYI. External party attempted in person. Contact near workplace social events previously. Today, they attempted contact at my residence with a witness. I'm documenting and requesting no further engagement. Then I called building management. Not to accuse. To notify. To be clear, I said, calm and polite, if anyone asks for access claiming concern, they are not authorized. That was it. No argument. No family meeting. No pleading. Just structure. Because structure is what survives manipulation. That night, my phone buzzed once, a message from my sister. You're going to regret this. I stared at it for a moment. Then I did. What she feared most. I didn't respond. I archived it. I saved it. And I went back to my quiet because she wanted a reaction, a war, a story. But what she was getting instead was something far worse for someone like her. A record. A locked door. And no audience. They laughed first. I stayed quiet. And now, the quiet wasn't just freedom. It was proof.